Free world, not censored. Spotify cancels Neil Young over Joe Rogan. Aging rocker Neil Young recently tried to have Joe Rogan removed from Spotify by making an ultimatum, and it didn't end well for him. In fact, he'll be losing 60% of all online streaming earnings.
Yep, Neil Young gave Spotify an ultimatum. They can have Rogan or Young, not both. That's what he said. Well, Spotify responded by pulling his entire catalogue off their site. That'll see the folk singer lose around 60% of his streaming income. He had 2.4 million followers and over 6 million monthly listeners on the site. Neil Young today blasted Spotify's decision and accused them of selling lies for money. He said, Spotify has become the home of life-threatening COVID misinformation. Goodness me. All this because Joe Rogan, a comedian, podcaster who has around 200 million monthly listeners, chooses to have people from all sorts of backgrounds and belief systems on his program. He questions them robustly, and he often has guests who disagree with him.
Why so many people get grumpy and bitter as they get old? Spotify responded to Neil Young's ultimatum by removing him from the platform. In reality, he kind of cancelled himself. They can have Rogan or Young, not both. That's what he said. What a narcissist. I imagine Young thinking, well, now all rockers and other musicians are gonna follow my lead and get off Spotify. We're gonna sell some vinyls again, just like in good old days. Make vinyls great again. I have nothing against vinyl. I was never a huge fan of Neil Young. I respect him and I like his music. And you know, people change as they get old, especially when they get old. Let's look at some free media reporting on this.
What's going on with Spotify? They claim they certainly claim to be trying to snuff out anti-vax information, but they're not touching Joe Rogan. Is he just too powerful for Spotify to cross, even when he's putting out dangerous information?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Joe Rogan is their biggest superstar. And they paid him about $100 million, you know, and he is their biggest draw. And I'm sure they like Neil Young, but Neil is just nowhere near that. So they had to choose, and they picked the star, and they picked the money, at least so far. I think it's possible if a few more big stars leave, it will put more pressure on Spotify, and they might reconsider.
It is interesting, though, isn't it, that Spotify has put themselves out as a forward-thinking, progressive, Swedish company, corporation you just walk through there, you talk to the people who run it. There is no doubt these people like to think of themselves as very forward-thinking.
Sure.
For their brand to be connected with a guy who is talking about ivermectin and passing out just information that public health officials are horrified by. It is not a tight fit for their corporate culture, is it?
No, but they want to beat Apple, and they want to beat Amazon, and they have the same albums that they do. So they want their own content. They want their own stars, and they hired Rogan, and I don't think they quite realized that this would happen. So they're being pretty squeezed right now. But I think they stick with him. You know, it's a sad thing, but they paid him a ton of money, and I think their goal is to just ride this out and pray that no people follow Neil and this kind of goes away.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if other stars will follow Neil Young's lead.
So does that mean that Neil Young could use some help in all of this? I mean, you know, if some other big name artists were to step in and you know, hop on the bandwagon, so to speak.
Well, that's exactly right, Jim. This was an economic decision. Joe Rogan is the biggest artist in the world in a medium, podcasting. Neil Young is not. And so this was probably a fairly easy decision for them. Now, if Taylor Swift or Drake decide they want off the platform,
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
I'm starting to like Spotify more and more. New York Post. Spotify sides with Joe Rogan. The Verge. Spotify picks Joe Rogan. Yahoo News. Spotify sides with Joe Rogan. Spotify didn't side with anyone. They rather responded to Neil Young's ultimatum. Sorry, Neil, your definition of a free world doesn't align with freedom of speech, it seems. Now, a part of the reason Joe Rogan is so popular is that people trust him, and that trust is based on that Joe admits when he's wrong. Unlike mainstream media. Imagine CNN admitting they're wrong. And Joe Rogan is so huge right now that he cannot be cancelled. You cannot cancel Joe Rogan. Seriously.
Podcasters like Joe Rogan went exactly the opposite way. They said, actually, if these things are worth looking at, they're worth looking at in depth. And so he invites experts of many different views onto his podcast, and he talks with them, as you say, for 2-3 hours at a time, and it finds a massive global audience. Of course, there are people that are upset by that. There are always going to be people upset by everything. But there's no way, in my view, that they've got any chance of cancelling Joe Rogan.
Even if he gets pulled off, he can make his own platform and maybe become bigger than ever. There are a lot of high-profile creators who would jump on that train with Joe Rogan. Just imagine if Elon Musk, for example, who is a great friend with Joe Rogan, decide to make his own streaming platform. If you've liked this video, please like, share and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me for my small channel. And keep on rocking in a free world. But without Neil Young. He likes to censor people, you know.